Someone jumped into it. Kind of singing. I don't know. She's singing down.
And when you watching you slipping away. That's bad. Judy.
We're going to record them.
An introduction to this session on Indigenous arts. The young artists in the future. So I'm just briefly going to introduce Teresa O'Brien, who is an artist and is going to be the moderator of sorts, as she says, for this session. So I'll be very pleased to hand over to Teresa. Welcome everybody to this session. Thank you, Lynn. Welcome everyone. It's great to be here in Bridgie Country. Just want to firstly acknowledge the elders, past, present, and future, and say what an honour it is to be here this weekend. My name is Teresa O'Brien. I'm a painter and an artist. I'm from Village Mara Country down in South West Victoria, and travelled a long way to be here, myself and Shane. And Charlie asked if we could help to facilitate a forum on arts and culture, so we had a bit of a conversation about who was present. I thought about this group of people here along the panel today, and musicians and artists in general around this country who work tirelessly and have over many decades to bring about change through their artwork and through their music. So we're going to have a bit of a conversation today with these artists and talk to them about their experiences. And in light of this weekend, we thought a bit about, for example, a song like From Little Things Big Things Grow, and how a song like that can become an opportunity to take the story of the Gringy and the war conflict and the issues here in this country and take it to the broader community. And maybe have a bit of a talk about whether that's one of the roles of one of our jobs as artists and musicians is to try and help facilitate change and bring about, we talk a bit about personal change, but how that actually affects broader change and how songs and music and art can do that. So I'm going to ask each of the musicians along here to introduce themselves, and we'll start from there, and then we might have a conversation, and then see what you guys think and have to say as well around that stuff. So we'll start with you, Alan, and just a bit of a talk about your story and how you came to be here in Gringy Country. So would you please welcome Alan Murphy?
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the TOs from Dockrock community. The last time I was here was 10 years ago, the 40th anniversary. And at that time, I was in Alice Springs. We were delivering vet music programs, which were basically, controlled workshops where we offered the musicians and even non-musicians who had a story to tell a way to get out there, think outside of the box. Something that's not encouraged enough, frankly. My experience at Bush goes back a fair way. Connected to this guy here. I came up to ENT originally with the Warumpi band, and I was, when I moved to Darwin, I was amazed at quite humbled by the cultural connection, which I had not witnessed before. Over the first couple of years when I got an opportunity to work at Bush, got to see really that, arts and music in my way, and what I was seeing, was really just a vehicle to express and to solidify culture for young TOs trying to get a message across to young people. Young people trying to have fun and eventually trying to do better in school. So I guess my background is I started facilitating because I was a drummer. I said, oh, well, great, I get to come out and talk about drums and talk about work and try to use music as a discipline, like to have fun, but also as a discipline to where you have to be consistent in your actions to move forward, to kind of, get where you want to get, I suppose. So, that became my background. I worked for Karma Music as a producer for a while. This is about 2004, 2003, 4, 5, in that area. We did a lot of remote workshops. A lot of the workshops we did coincided with ceremony that was happening in the community at the time. And that was an eye-opener too, that, let's use these music courses to do what we need to do locally. We need to, we want these folks to be involved in this ceremony, but we want to do it musically. And that was very exciting. I'd never experienced that before. That was something very exciting to be involved with. That whereas the technique of being a musician or an artist was really secondary to the message and what you're trying to achieve. So, elsewhere in the world, I'm from New York originally, there was a very high emphasis on technique and comparisons of technique. And as a musician, as an artist and all that, as I spent more time in the territory, I think the story was number one, and technique was very secondary. And it wasn't really about, I want to learn how to be a much better drummer or better musician, but I want to learn how to reach the people I need to reach. I want to learn how to tell the story better. And that was, I was very, and I still feel very humbled to be in any way part of that process, whether it's as just a player or as a teacher, just as a person wanting to learn himself about culture. So that's my background, I suppose. It's great to be here in Gurindji country again. It's been a while. I've seen a lot of old friends I haven't seen in a long time. And I'll pass it on to Neil.
Thanks, Henry. Would you please welcome Neil?
Try this one. Neil. 1, 2. Good morning, everybody. My name's Neil Murray. I haven't been in this place for 32 years. Last time I was here in 1984, I came in as a monk. We stayed here in 92. And I'm originally from Jacaranda country in Western Victoria. My great-great-grandfather was from Scotland, that's why I look like this. But I grew up in that country down there, and I had a deep love of the land, and something was in me telling me to go and find Aboriginal people and be with them and learn from them, so that I could understand my place in this country better and feel that I belong more. That's mostly what's driven me. And I ended up in Panya community west of Alice Springs in 1980, working on outstations there, the outstations movement. And in that time, I was only there a week, and I had a bloke knock on the door of my little trash, only flat was still serviceable in a block of 4. And this was a local fellow, his name was Sammy Butcher, and he came with my guitar, and here I had the guitar. I'll show you the guitar, and he could play it beautifully. So we started jamming, and through that, the Warren thing happened. And eventually I quit my proper job, and threw my head into the music business. And we went for a couple of decades, and basically we were just generating songs that spoke about the Indigenous struggle, the Indigenous truth of survival in this land, and we were taking that to the mainstream. And I guess our aim was to put it in a form that young people would kind of identify with, but leaving with the message that they would never forget. So in terms of the overall topic of this talk, can art make a change? I feel it can, so far as if the art is good enough and it moves people, it inspires people, make them think differently, to consider another point of view. In that extent, to how many people it can reach, then those people themselves that make the change, but art can certainly correct the signpost. So I would come down on the affirmative in that sense. So I won't waffle on too long because I'd like to hope that there's time for everyone to ask questions, but I'll hand on to Shane. Okay.
Well, I'm from just down the road from this country, Jabron country. I'm down in Ivanhoe country, or part of the Greater Flinders Nation, the Celtic language, sea people, coastal mob. We look out to Antarctica, the edge of the world. Archie Roach's mother's country. I don't know, I spent a lot of time talking about it. Our kid from the country down right in solid rock, still trying to understand the journey, but there's a big, with 2 old missions near where we live, one to the east and one to the west. One was Abraham, where Archie was taken away from, the other one was Lake Conrad to the west. So Aboriginal people were a fact of life growing up, and my mum and dad knew Aboriginal people. I was very fortunate that were places. Those encounters that I remember as a little kid were very natural encounters. I remember saying to my mum, I remember as a kid, it's not like I remember, 3 or 4 years old being on Main Street in Warrnambool, my mum talking about it. Years later, I said to her, what were those women? She said, oh, it's old Mrs. Chesney Taylor and Granny Mary Clark. And I said, how did you know them? And she said, oh, through my mum. And I realised I was part of a continuum that right back to when my Irish ancestors arrived in that part of the world. And God to all the great hunger of the family in Ireland. But that part of it suffered very severely from the effects of colonisation. Language, dance, cultural practice was really smashed. I've come from diplomacy. I'm reading about that at the moment. In fact, it's one of the greatest land grabs that Western District of Victoria. One of the greatest land grabs in world history. An area the size of England in the space of about 3 years. And one Scotland's account basically says how you get land in the state of 30s and 40s. How you get land in that country is to move on to the country, stock up the sheep, and you shoot make fun of the left. And that's a sad reality of my suburb. I don't know, at some point in my life, I wanted to see if there was still
culture out there in this country. People still practicing culture. That journey led me to Uluru in 1981. And I said, by coincidence, I just happened to be there with the mob from Armada. We're coming back from the settlement there, coming back to Uluru to really claim that country back. And I just happened to coincide with those people at that time. There was a set of very powerful experiences, cultural experiences, that I say woke me up. I woke up in a dream and took it one. And I started writing that song, so I got there from that experience. And, I went back, I was in the band, the band was already going then. I went back and we learned that song, started playing it, we recorded it. I remember Alpha, who was the head of the Warner Brothers, who signed to at that time. And he's been an old drug and the head of a very capitalist organisation, American Cultural Imperial organisation. But he said to me, he said, Shane, the artists, the poets, the writers, the painters, they sing it, write it, paint it, and 15 years later it's legislation. And it's amazing how close to the truth that really was. That legislative change that happened in the 90s. With our electricity and they pay you that from us. But look, it had I don't know why that song somehow that captured people's imagination, our generation. I think every Aboriginal person in the country, when they heard it, knew exactly what was going on in that song. I think a lot of white fellas had great big next to it. Australia on maybe the meaning of that song is what I like to sing. But it started me on a journey that has continues deeper and deeper into the country, into the landscape, and into the cultural depth of this Aboriginal landscape. It's a hard journey, but the beauty and the rewards of the personal connection is the deepening understanding of connection to country has so enriched my life and my family's life. Archie and I often talk about the fact that we have to be bridges to each other, our generation, like common one. And now our kids can cross those bridges freely. So can art make a change here? It can, it's slow, change is very slow. And old habits die hard on the journey. I wish I had enough lifetime I'd start from I'd start much further down the road. There's so much cultural treasure. Neil was just saying before we came here about getting hold of the Guruji language. So how many languages can you get in your lifetime? There's a lot of them. And I know we're going somewhere and we'll make a decent country of this yet. And I feel for all the old people who have to suffer such hardship and such neglect, abuse, violence. And it could have been different. It could have been different if Governor Burke had a bit of a spine in the 30s. Sydney poet there. It could have been such a different story. If that entry of Europeans into Australia had been more respectful. And
it's interesting when you go back and on the project about East Coast encounters, it's changing up the East Coast of Australia. His encounters he was given specific instructions, to negotiate with the native people and to establish some kind of treaty, which he never did. He took possession on Possession Island, which indicated York, and set in motion the whole concept of terra nullius. And I know from some of this broad sweeping kind of song about a lot of things about injustice. Neil was on the ground in Ivanhoe at the same time, really telling stories at a very personal level, deeply embedded in the country. And they were exciting times in the 80s. I remember one poet quoting that Aboriginal poet from Queensland. He says, brother, check this out. This video of a rugby man, and they sing their bingo. And it's a really powerful moment. And I was fascinated to see this one white fella in the band. The brave journeys everyone was making across between worlds, crossing to each other. And those things, Bart Willoughby, with No Fixed Address, all those great bands, so much music exploded at that time. Painting, poetry, some of the art things. And we inherited it. I remember the first time I heard Grinchi blues when I was a kid in Autumn. Here in Ted Egan, that song on the radio was a powerful awakening to something deeper going on in this country. An old fellow said to me, years later in the desert, he said to me, "Where you mob from?" And I said, "Oh, Southwest Victoria." He said, "Yeah, but where are your people from?" And I said, "Mainly from Ireland." And he said, "What's your bingo? What's your dance?" And I felt ashamed. I didn't know my language. And here I was feeling sorry for Aboriginal people who lost their culture and lost their language. And I thought, I can't speak my language. I can't do my dance. And that set me on a journey back to understand my own culture. So, we're all on a journey, and without art and the arts, as Alan said, really what I learned in this country is to take it deeper into ceremony. In many ways what we do is almost cosmetic, but this deeper sense of ceremony, songlines that crisscross the country, the songmen make them to, and to create those stories. And they come out and they land and it's done. So the change goes on, the change is never ending, it's never constantly. It's just a very powerful, very beautiful journey. Without the arts, without all that painting, dancing, singing, yarn, what do we have? Jobs. So, and I often say to people, tell me the name of one politician or one businessman who was alive in Holland in Vincent van Gogh's time. No one's answered that yet, but they remember Vincent. Art keeps us our dream.
Thanks, Shane. My name's Robbie Hope. I grew up in Ivanhoe country, which is down in Coorong, Lower Murray, right, a little place we've done a bit. But now I'm in Wirinji country, and I would like to pay full respect and to traditional owners and the ancestors, past, present, and future. And I get to work a bit with future traditional owners. I've got the kids up here. The way I got up here, I was looking at my own heritage. I grew up on a farm, you know, Whitehall away, and but I soon found a photograph of, interesting, my great-grandmother used to tell me dreamtime stories. She was a dark-skinned lady, and they said, oh no, she's from South Africa, she's from South Africa. And then I looked in a little bit, and I found a picture of this lady, who was my great-great-grandmother. And she was dark-skinned lady. Now, it's interesting, this business of trying to understand your own heritage when you grew up in a very racist place, as I'm white guy. And anyway, I guess ultimately I tried to interface a little bit with Aboriginal culture down that way. I worked at Change Extension, but I did a little bit of work, and I do work now with Bana Laurie. I play a little bit of bass with Bana. And the Aboriginal Centre for Music was starting in Adelaide. But that was a funny place. So I took off and I come up here, and I come up to Darwin, and I met this really wonderful lady who we're going to hear from real soon, because I'll try and keep it real short, in Darwin. And I spent a bit of time in Darwin, and I realised it was a very welcoming place. There was so much culture, and such a variety of culture. It was fantastic, and it seemed that some of my skills, and I really wanted to learn about culture. And it's funny that I ran away from a place where nothing fitted for me there. And I got to go and I felt like home, and I felt like Barracuda mom, this big open-hearted mom who just said, it doesn't matter who you are, come here, you're with us. And we spent a fair bit of time together. Really nice. I ended up going out in the bush a lot, working, and in fact, I met that fellow down there, Alan Murphy, in Managreater in 1993. And I went out there to do a circus program with the kids. I'd been on tour with the Track Stance Collective as a musician. But somebody said, oh, the kids want to learn juggling, anyone can teach juggling. And I went, oh yeah, I teach juggling, I can teach. Yep, let's do it. Then that Managreater mob rang up and said, can you come out here and run a circus program? So I did that in 1993. We did a big show. I don't know if you remember this big show in the hall. Had the whole community there. And that was Managreater at that time was a community divided. It was a community with a lot of tension. It was an urban environment in the middle of Arnhem Land. And the kids, what happened was, we ran this program over 6 weeks, and they had a very low attendance at school, down to 34%. We cranked it up over 6 weeks up to 96% of the kids will come to school to learn circus. Now, this is not traditional culture, obviously. This was contemporary business. But what happened was an old man walked up to me and he grabbed me. And he said, you teach our kids Balanda way. Balanda is white collar. You teach our kids Balanda way. Because that Balanda, they're not going away. And I went, all right. And that was when it clicked for me that I had truly something to offer. And what I had to offer was I understood Balanda way. In this instance, it was circus. You know, I worked a little bit with the video, I'm a musician, I trained as a teacher and an actor. So I do a little bit here, there and everywhere as a freelance artist across the territory. I've been lucky enough to work in so many communities. But when I came here, I was looking to understand, and if only Cook, if only them original mob had come here and wanted to understand, if only there'd been cultural exchange, yes, we'd be in a different place right now. But we're not, we're right here where we are. And we're going to change it. And I understand that I was like, oh, I don't want to distract them kids from our traditional culture. I don't want to do that. But contemporary, using a guitar, using a drum kit as a way of expression, culture is constantly changing. It's constantly growing. And I realised that I did have a place in this cultural business, and of course along the way, as Alan pointed out before, there's so much ceremonial, there's so much understanding every day. every day I'm learning so much, and it's affecting who I am. I am changing, and hopefully sometimes I can help change here and there as an artist, and it's such a privilege. And I've been lucky enough, I sung that song from the Things Big Things Grow, and I was lucky enough to translate it into Gurindji, just the chorus. And I spoke to Ronnie Wayfield about the translation, which is Yapakai Nini Rimpu, Yani Wang Wang Yani. And I walked up to that old band, I said, you know that song, old band, that Little Things, Big Things Grow? Well, I want to do the chorus in Gurindji. I need to find out if I'm saying it right way. Yapakai Nini Rimpu, Yani Wang Wang Yani. Right way? Good one? Good one. So I got it right just from it written down, which was really good and really beautiful. So I do feel that the only way forward to change is interface contemporary culture and traditional culture and heart business. And talking about heart business, I'm going to hand it over to Judy Mill right now.
I'm Judy Mills. I'm the eldest in the Mills family. My mum, Kathy Mills, was Kathy McGuinness, and she's a Kumarakan Gurindji. And my father, Larry and Joan. So we got 4 grandmothers. And so I will quite often refer, and at the moment I'm a Gurindji because I have a Gurindji. My grandmother was coming, my mum's from this country, which I was talking about in a minute. But you quite often hear me refer to myself and my family as Larry Kumarakan Gurindji Jawa. And it may change name depending on the year, but I think that is reflecting my 4 grandmothers, which are all from those regions. I grew up in a very lovely. My father was an artist, and I quite often feel sad for my dad because he was pick and shovel. That's all they could have back in that, pick and shovel. But I wouldn't say he was a frustrated. I think he was a beautiful, happy man. But I feel sad because at the moment I can get paint and I can get this and that, and I feel my art. But my dad never had that. He'd come home with one of Dad's jobs later when I was a bit older, probably around Chatham, that was he went from pick and shovel to driving machinery. And the funny thing was, these smart-ass white-collar blokes that were these foremen at the AW Hill and Darwin, they got all this new machinery. And one of those smart-asses went up to my father and said, "Hey, Mills, can you drive that?" You know, he'd never even seen machinery drive, but my dad said yes. And he jumped on it and he worked it out in like about 10 minutes. But anyway, my dad would bring home, then from there he went to bulldozing stuff from the rack, because when people would come up and they'd leave, all the contents of the house would get bulldozed. And my dad used to do it. And sometimes he'd come home with a little bit of paint and that was the extent of him being able to do bits of art. But anyway, that's my beautiful dad. David Mills, with Ludlow. Did this design for my father, black flag at Ludlow. With me in black, Ludlow meaning snake, Gallagher language. We lost him last year. The love of my life, my beautiful father. We all musicians, we all make music. I stopped singing for nearly 12 months, which is really dumb. Because my dad, all he ever wanted from me, and all of us kids in fact, was to be happy and play together nicely, whatever that meant, even from when we were young kids, still be nice and play, you know. Sing, all my dad ever said was sing a song, darling. That's all he wanted from us. Apart from brush your hair, he said, "Why don't you brush your hair?" And I was saying, "Oh, come on, Dad, nobody's looking at me." And he'd go, "I'm looking at you." But anyway, I started brushing my hair just for my dad. But I was always, doing, I guess. But when I got older, I was very dissatisfied with what the choices I had to wear and adorn myself. You know, because every Aboriginal person in this country has been through the assimilation process and the integration process, and we've all been to Sunday school, and we've all had that drummed into us, and we've all had, you know, we've got this little layer of stuff that we put onto us. And so it's a bit of a journey to actually peel those layers off that you've been brainwashed over the years, and actually get to a point where, oh, hang on a minute, I actually don't want to wear daffodils and roses. I actually want to walk into somewhere with a crocodile on my chest. Huh? And I want to walk in there, I want to see my grannies with the sea eagles on their chest. So I actually started doing that. And now that art, to me, is art has changed, possibility change. And I recognise now, I've been doing my art since probably high school, and it's changed, because you know, when you first start, you first get the tools and you start doing things and you look at other people's art and you do them, and then at some point you get to a point which is your art. And that was my bit of my journey. And now I can look at it and I can say, well, you know what? My art is also an act of healing for me. When I draw my crocodile, that's healing for me. Because every Indigenous person in this country, and I don't like the word Indigenous, but this is a word that we can recognise, we are brutalised every day by the colonisation of this country, and the continued colonisation, and the continued pressure to assimilate. There's still the pressure to assimilate and integrate and carry on. I might put that on, maybe. Thank you, Donna. And we all, so we've got here, what's that one say? Reclaim, decolonise. And what's this one say?
As I said, decolonize
Decolonise
your mind, accept yourself.
And some people say to me, some people say to me, what do you mean, honey? What do you mean decolonise? What do you mean decolonise yourself? Well, that's a part of decolonising yourself. When you peel back the layers, when you, like the funeral, we still got to see where people go. I'm not knocking anybody's whatever they want to do, that's interesting. But we all rock up in black and white, and we all do this and all that. Well, you know, I might choose something different, which I may go into next time. But art can actually create change in an instant. And you know, I found out about the internet probably in the early 90s, I think. I can't remember when I found out about the internet, but when I found out about the internet, I'll tell you what, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And for a person like me that's always trying to, I don't know if I can say it, but anyway, I'll say it. Apart from creating a better future for ourselves and our children, but also part of the resistance, like how can I, beat these bastards, basically. Now, in all sorts of levels. And I must say, I always come back to art. Because art can tell you something in an instant, where you can be reading novels and, books and blah, 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 blah. Art can give you something in an instant, in a song, in a poem, in a picture. You hear it all the time, a picture can tell 1,000 words. Well, it's absolute truth. And it's so powerful. And I use art. Like when I started doing art for myself, like I said, I really seriously did. We were going to the Landslide Institute for the therapy of Landslide. It was a great part of my life, I guess. And I really wanted to walk in, because through the process, if you ever been to a land claim or a native title claim, it's so demoralising, so dehumanising, so it tears you to pieces. You have to prove who you are. You have, and through native pride, you have to prove your association in a country, and it's a really diminishing, I call it a diminishing process. And I thought, stuff that this is knocking me around a bit too much. I need something. I need to be able to express myself, my spirit, not only for me, as the eldest in my family. Oh yes, thank you, Daddy. to make us feel better about who we are. If the whole world is going to deny who I am, and if the whole world is going to deny who my babies are, if I say every day, no, I'm allowed here, and then I've got everybody else saying, no, you're not allowed here, but you have to self-care. You must draw from your culture, your spiritual belief, your cultural heritage to self-care your spirit. Because we are all spiritual beings living on this planet. And we all have a responsibility to care for not only our spirit, each other's spirit as well. And that's part of the healing process. And so I use my art. I actually don't have much to show. Well, I don't really, it's just coincidental that I shirt. But my grandchildren, I paint them hand-painted outfits. And that's all the dreaming business. And that's part of maintaining culture, building up. I say I like to heal before there is a need to heal. I don't want my kids string themselves up when they're a teenager because they need to know who they are. They know that they need to know their place and they need to have real strength in who they are. And so I use art. I paint their dreams all over. I paint the dreams all over. This is one that I just printed just recently. But as opposed to daffodils and Mickey Mouse and Daffy Duck or whatever else people want to draw, I've got the mangrove that we're so full of people. Dreamings in the mangrove. Baramandi, Damapilla. That's a dreaming again. This one here, the little green rainbow is another dreaming. And my father is associated with the blood brim. And this, when I look at this, I could hang this up and I'll just look at it, and that brings me calmness of spirit. But just in the sense of change, what I would say, I'm a full-on activist. As well as a musician, I sort of, I don't know, somewhere on the trail, I don't do enough to probably do something more than sing a daily song. And one of the most recent things that I've been along the trail for a long time with East Timor, which we used probably back in the 90s after the Santa Cruz massacre in Darwin. A lot of the Timorese people came over. And I'd see them marching the streets, and they had nothing except little cardboard cutouts, right? And I heard somebody say to me, oh, Julie, you know that, what do they say, one good banner is worth 100 people. And I'm, oh, true, okay. That's a good idea. And it's true, But you see one decent banner, bang, it's instant impact. Anyway, I made this massive East Timor flag. And the funny thing was that I gave it to her and it kept on coming home. I got to the purpose of giving it flag. And before I even got home, that flag had been washed and ironed and sitting on my doorstep. And this went on for nearly a year until I finally went to our break for prayer. I said, Monica, this is for you. And she just looked at me like, that I'm not computer anyway. But in recent times, I've been doing a lot with West Papua. Now, West Papua predates East Timor, and it's still going on. And the media ban, all the humanitarian organisations, all the church, everything says a big blockade, shutdown, whatever. And I've just very recently done a mural in Darwin, which is massive, absolutely massive. It's on a car park in Darwin. It's just simply a hand of friendship, because I've met a lot of West Papuan people, and I try to do whatever I can, which is not much, but it's obvious enough. And all I did was paint a friendship of an Aboriginal hand and a West Papuan hand, and two flags reaching out across the water, which was just a thing of solidarity and friendship and that. It's created such a turmoil in Darwin, you would not believe what's happened with that. A simple mural, which I thought was just between me and my West Papuan mates, and all elected as a little fun thing to do. We did a lot of actions last year. It's a big roar up over that thing. Anyway, the person who owns the building was pressured to get rid of it, to white it out, and they actually whited out my words the first night I painted it, which was a word of support and calling on justice for the West Papuan people, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they wiped it out the first time they did it. And they also obliterated the Aboriginal flag and also did a couple of words on top. But anyway, the rest of the mural stayed there for a year now. It's been a year, just a year and 1 month. But they were threatening to wipe it out a couple of months ago. And it created such, where it was just a little gang of us. And the silly thing what the Indonesian consulate in Darwin said, Mr. Andre Siriga, he actually said, oh, there's only 2 supporters in Darwin. And it's like, well, the journals was one. And the other one must have been my shadow, because I didn't have anyone else. But anyway, all the supporters for West Pop actually came out of the woodwork. Now, the thing what happened is because it was under threat to wipe it out, this fellow from Sydney, Ash Brennan, who was obviously, I never knew the man, but he's obviously a West Papua supporter too, and he heard this and he said, oh, I'm going to Darwin to capture that mural before it gets wiped out, blah, blah, blah. So he came to Darwin and he made this little video about it. And then he put it on bloody Facebook, and it's gone pretty much viral. And then what happened was he played it at the Sydney Transitional Film, I think it was, Festival, which was just a few weeks ago, might have been in July sometime. And then guess what? All the countrymen down in Sydney reckon, oh, gee, we're going to do one too. So they've done one in Redfern, right? And the funny thing was, I actually went to Wollongong to do a course. Well, the whole funny story, but anyway, on my birthday, 3rd of July, turned 60, and Ash was ringing up to tell me the good news, like, oh, Jimmy, guess what? We've got another mural painted in Redfern, and we're gonna probably launch it today or do something, and they'll get back there. And I said, oh yeah, and I said, well, guess what? I'm at the airport, and picked me up. So he came there, so we did another video, and that's gone viral. So, and it means this is how powerful art is. This is just, the simple, even though it was a massive mural in Darwin, it's still there now, but it's created such a drama that they haven't dared to touch it now. So, just 2 hands. And then there's one in Redfern now. And if you want to look, you probably can't see it from here, but you can come up later and have a look at the video and the mural. Instant impact. And the other thing that's really driving them Indonesian people, because they're blocking everything. It's just across the road from the Indonesian consulate, and it's also across the road from the ABC. But a song, poem, piece of art can do what millions of words can't. And in the most beautiful way, the most enjoyable way. And some of the simplest things actually inspire. And it's not really why you do art and why you create art, but if you really feel really passionately about something and you actually do create something beautiful and it inspires, it lights up everybody. Their heart, it opens their heart and their mind and their spirit, and they just go bang! And and they'll go and do something. It might not be exactly the same, it might be something different, but I tell you what, it awakens your heart. And when your heart is awake and open, we can change everything. And we have to. We have to, because this world has gone to shit.
Yeah.
And we have to. The only thing that can fix things is our beautiful hearts and our spirits and caring for each other. And I mean, I don't want to go, I don't really go on about this public, it really is shocking and so unbelievable that what has happened in West Papua is going on for 50 years more. It's appalling, it's only a couple hundred cases down, that's why I'm so upset about it. A lot of people are.
Family.
And, because we can't actually go together, the best thing is art, music, stories, discussion. And, sorry, I forgot to mention on there, but I suppose I use every tool at my disposal, and I guess I'm blessed. People say, well, Junior, you're blessed, and I'm like, no, I'm cursed, but I'm not really, I don't really care. But sometimes, because I don't know where to go, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like,
But I do everything in a given amount of time. I'll get everything done. But yeah, I write songs. I wrote a song called When I Die. This is a funny one. It's a really, I don't sing it publicly a lot, unless people specifically scream out for it. It's called When I Die. And it came about because my dad, before he died, I must say, going back 20 years, he cried a bit, and I went, oh, what's going to happen to your kids, when me and mum go, he used to make me cry. It was going on for years. And he'd say things like, oh, the candle's burning low, Edgar, he called me Edgar. Candle's burning low, there's someone dead, don't talk about that, I'm going to cry, and then one day I had enough, and I thought, right, I can't do this no more, I'm already bloody depressed, my mother going to run away from me because I wouldn't stop singing, and that's a whole other story, but anyway, I was already depressed, I didn't need to be depressed more. So I said, I'm going to fix it. I said, the next time Dad starts, I knew you're going to start, it was pretty regular, and I go, Dad, hang on, pull up. He started. What's going to happen? The dad, pull up. I worked it all out. And he goes, what? What did you work out? I said, what's going to happen when you die? I worked it all out and I made this funny list. Things to do when Dad dies. Anyway, one of the things I said, and he sparked up and he sat up and I go, oh, what? And I said, here, look, here's your things to do list. I said, this is what's going to happen. The first one was press release. Father of the Ministers has just passed that out, all these funny things. And I said to him, I said, you look, I make all these beautiful shirts, I make this beautiful American Soul Water shirt. I said, look here, I made one, and I made one, especially from there, that's your shirt. And you look at this table, I used to have this, I'm living a housing question now, and I had this extendable table, which I never extended because the house couldn't have spent that yet. So I never got extended, but I said, come here, Dad, look at this table. And I opened the table up. And I said, now look, get on that. He got on it to the nut. I said, look, perfect fit. I said, when you go out, you're going to be everybody on my table. You're going to be having a Larry Killer shirt. And I'll get the boys, they can take care of you. I said, no one's going to come in with the boys, da. And we'll take it and reckon, yeah. And reckon you take me out to such and such a place and you leave me out there. And that was a part of, because Larry Killer people, a lot of the people at the top, don't bury people. It's actually a forest. We've got different ways. We can go to this day, but we don't bury people. And so me and Dad talked about it, and there's still a hurtful thing to me to this day that Dad did get buried, but I'm happy that he got buried with his mum and his dad at Gardens Hill. But anyway, so we went through all this process, and I actually thought more about, our cultural ways of burial and all that cultural business. And I started thinking about my own death, and I said to my kids, the very least, I want this and I want that. No. But anyway, I made up this song. I might just sing a quick one, which I don't sing a lot because I think it's a bit sad, but it's beautiful too. When I die, don't take me to church with you. And when I die, don't place me in a man-made coffin. And when I die, don't say the prayers for white man on my head. And when I die, pay for my children. Oh, when I die. And when I die, let my sisters wash me in cool fresh water creek. And when I die, wrap my naked body in a paper sheet. And when I die, lay me to rest high in the middle of a tree. And when I die, pay for my children. Oh, when I die. And when I die, tell my story underneath the clear sky. And when I die, carry the wings of the old ancient ones. And when I die, treat my children well so they will survive. And when I die,
No, you're right. I just wanted to say how sitting here with the panel, how they're all pretending like what they do is not really, normal thing that you just can all do that whole songs and and all that thing. So I just wanted to acknowledge that all of them have spoken about how art can bring about change, but it's really about personal change that I guess gets reflected in their art and goes beyond that to bring about more broader change. That's a form of healing. That we have through inspiration, change happens through inspiration, and personal liberation, which can then lead to liberation of the community or people beyond yourself. I think the quote in the last talk here about education, Indigenous education, was, the quote about if you're here to help, don't bother. But if you come here because your liberation is tied to my liberation, then we can get started. And that's very true as an artist. If the art doesn't liberate you, then you can't possibly help to liberate those who you share your art with. And that's probably a big part of what you do. I guess I want to take a moment just to acknowledge that these people do have a gift, whether that gift is given or whether you sometimes I think all of you see that you don't know why you chose the path that you chose or where your gifts came from, but you had the gift of music, painting, writing, singing, performing, and you chose to do something with that rather than so got to be a gift or not a curse. I think Shane used to say that the gift is the gift because it's given. So somebody chooses to give it to you in the first place, and then you continue to give that to others. All of these guys talked about how they want to have a bit of conversation with anybody who'd like to ask some questions, but before we go to that, I just also wanted to acknowledge that story that Dick Hudson told me today about how 5 years ago when we were here, they launched the Art Centre here 5.5 years ago at Garinju, Bagaragi. And since that time, the Art Centre has gone from strength to strength, and it's actually not only financially paying for itself, it's actually making money and actually bringing people into the community and doing all of that. So not just that art for itself can bring about change, but the art industry and all of the stuff associated around that can also bring about a change for a community like Garinju. And if you look behind us on the wall, these beautiful pieces of work that are able to really quickly capture the story of not just the walk-off, but all the complexities around what's happening beforehand. And art has that great capacity to tell a story, even if you don't speak the language. So I guess it's a universal language as well, visual art and music. So we're 50 years down the track, and maybe just wanted to ask a quick question across the panel about, you guys have to make a living from being artists. That's really hard. Anyone who has to do that in the audience, that's a hard thing to try and spend your whole lifetime being able to do what it is that you love and be able to make a living from that. And I guess I just wanted to throw out the idea that, so we're another 50 years down the track. Where do you see music and all of that, the role that it's playing, and not just that it's about, rarely in history have moments of great change, but you have small change all the time. So I guess we're here today to celebrate 50 years since a significant event and where we all are today. So where are we in 50 years? We're you guys won't be here, but where are we as a country and as white fellas, as black fellas? Just a quick one.
I'm just curious, most of you here, are you education related or artists yourselves? Like when you hear the question, can art take on change? I mean, it's almost a redundant question in a way. It's redundant. Where else in the world, across the developed world, do people ask that question? They know the answer, of course it does. The question is whether or not you make a decision to embrace that statement. Yes, art can make, how many people in you don't think art can make a change? Show of hands. No, you can't make a change. But I like listening to records, and I like walking through museums, and I love all that. But no, not really, not in the sense of well, art's not going to build another rec hall, or art's not going to get, some Gurindji kids into college down in New South Wales, or art's not going to employ, another 150 people in Kalkarinji. I mean, it's a redundant question, really. Picking a little bit of a philosophical fight here. That's a question that has been asked for the last 20 years, and the people that make decisions in community that set the tone, in my experience, are for the most part not artists, nor do they necessarily think artistically. And I think by artistically I mean creatively, I suppose. A lot of students, I did a workshop in Munajulu years ago, and at the time, this is pre-intervention, and at the time there was Munajulu Community Council, and before we came in to do the workshop, listen, we've got a lot of kids that we have a severe petrol sniffing problem with our kids. Severe. They're freaking out. The council themselves saying to us as musicians, workshop people, what are we going to do? They were almost asking, right? Anyway, the day goes by, and I'm doing a workshop there, and there's about 20 kids going to get involved in this workshop. These kids are walking up the street with, I don't know if you experienced this, with petrol cans around their neck, sniffing on the way up. There's a point to this. I'm not trying to just paint a bleak picture here. Right? They got to the door. I'm inside, all set up. They got to the door. They all very systematically and politely took the cans off, put them down on the outside of the kind of veranda, in a row, came into the thing and said, oh, hi, Alan, wow, yeah, and for about 3 hours, we had the most productive workshop. And not just, let's have a bang on the drums, like, well, I'm writing some on the board and showing movements, and this is a paragraph. You can see the gears turning with these kids. They're absolutely great. They're about maybe, how old were these kids? Maybe from between 14 and 18, something like that. The most polite, responsive, they were on the case, they were slacking off, and I had no issues with them. At the end of the workshop, hey, see you tomorrow. They got up, walked outside the door, picked up their cans, and walked back down the street as they walked in. Now, one of the teachers kind of saw this and was very ticked off at me. Right? Listen, we have a severe petrol problem here. Why didn't you come and say something? In my view, it was this total knee-jerk kind of reaction to I was aware of the problem. I was aware of what's going on. I see, I spend a bit of time on which I see kids like this every day. My thought was, well, what am I going to do? We're here for 2 or 3 weeks, right? All of a sudden, I'm going to play some drums and I'm going to change the kind of social fabric of the community, like you teachers are, right? And I didn't say anything, but it just brings up the point that, well, can art make change? Well, yes, absolutely. But at the same time, I didn't want to alienate myself from these kids. I mean, we see this all the time. Going to Honorland, you see kids, not just kids, you see communities spending, what, 100 grand a month on kava? Is that a fair statement? 100 grand a month to be spent on kava? Let's say at least maybe double that on cigarettes, right? Ganja, you name it. Everything that you do, you go, what are you going to do? How, is art or my artistic ability going to effectively go in and realign and readjust all these community issues somehow without, sorry? Yeah. Well, my answer is yes, and it takes time, and it takes communities to kind of view an issue and think outside the box and actually address these things from a creative standpoint, which frankly doesn't happen enough. I hope it does happen soon, very soon.
50 years' time, sustainable culture, acceptance of culture, acceptance of diversity, unity and diversity in 50 years' time, I'm certainly holding on to the possibility that we can make our way past the kind of corporate rule that we all suffer from, black fellas and white fellas. That's why I'm active in politics, but I'm still active culturally and big open hearts. That's what I see in 50 years' time. I'm not going to talk about the other possibility.
Yeah, 50 years' time. Well, I hope so, because I'm still saying the same stuff that my mum's 80, sorry, I should say. I'm 60 now this year. I'm still saying the things that my mum and my grandmother and my great-grandmother were saying. You get a bit frustrated, you get a bit worn down and tired, but you know what? The greatest thing in my lifetime is the internet. I freaked the hell out when I heard about the internet. And I'll just tell you a story about Chantal the Fairy in Darwin. She's a little lady, you know Chantal the Fairy? Mate, we're good little mates. And all she wanted to do was give children's parties. She's fantastic. Dress up as Chantal the Fairy, she did Christmas, children's parties. She loved face painting. She was this beautiful woman. And she tried, and I know this because she lived in my country, and I know only nearly 20 years she was trying to get a little book published. It was only a little tiny book, it was only, what do you call it, half of an A4, I can't remember what that is. A5. A little A5, that's all she wanted. She spent 20 years almost of her life trying to get people to find value in this little book and print it, and usually she did it full bugger. And anyway, eventually she must have saved enough money to print this book herself, or as they call it self-publishing now in this day and age, but she ended up getting the book published. That little $5 book has bought her 3 houses now. And so that to me was very inspirational, but the thing that to me is I'm saying yes, definitely change is going to happen, because art is magic, but the internet, I'm a musician, and I've got a record, but if I would have had or known about the power of the internet, I probably would have done it all myself, and it's not out of the question still, and I want to do another album, or probably several albums. But you don't actually need a record company to take interest in you anymore. It's taking the power out of all these people that want to appropriate and make money off you. You can actually get yourself organised. Whatever your art is, you can organise yourself and you use the internet, and you don't need anyone. The internet is giving the power to the people. I would say the power to the artists. I, as an artist, don't sell my art. I cannot even go to that. It does not compute in my art brain, in my creative output. I'm going to, though, at some point, because people want my art. So I'm going to at some point say, well, what am I prepared to sell or whatever. I'm more likely if people walk up to me and say, oh, June, I love that, I'll probably just give it to you. Because of that thing. Alright then, well, I would say yes, definitely. Internet, self-sufficiency, independence, everything you name it, and art's magic in my life.
I'd love to be optimistic. I feel like I spent my whole life trying to find my world, my people, and I feel like I'm still looking. We're born into this bizarre world where people's capitalism, basically capitalism, if it wasn't kings and queens or whatever, it was, it's now the corporations or the kingdoms. This players here, the Pilbara struggle, who were the real white collar supporters of those struggles? The Communist Party. I'm not a communist, I don't want any more isms, I'm sick of isms. But it is interesting to remember that the support came from church groups and the Communist Party. Why do Aboriginal people have more? Why do Moses, go to get the 10 Commandments. Why do we have a law? Because people keep doing the wrong thing. We keep getting greedy. Reading stories with this. It's human nature. You know, we keep being distracted by the things that diminish us. And our laws are there to remind us to behave properly. I want to believe that virtue, honour, grace, dignity, these things matter. But we all fall down. We all want to rise above too. We've all been colonised. Mentally emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Brain freeze, I've forgotten your name already. Cheryl was talking before over there about freedom and about the notion of really talking of freedom is about the notion of self-control. And the self-control, the social control. So much is imposed on us. I feel like I've lived in a world that I don't belong in my whole life. And it was actually in Australia where I actually felt like I found my people. Where I could be a spiritual person and not be ridiculed for that. I don't know where we're going. I don't know if we'll have a world in 50 years. I don't know if we'll have humans in 50 years. We're on the road to extinction, basically. And I'm astounded that we have people like Rupert Murdoch and these greedy billionaires who will sacrifice their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, will sacrifice the future for a quick dollar, for power. I want to smash that, but I can't do anything except write songs, sing songs, do art. That's all I can do. It's the only response I can have to a really unfair, unjust, greedy, selfish, mean-spirited world. And we all know that. Unfortunately, we've got to keep fighting. Bill Mollison, the father of agriculture, said there's no way we can possibly win, but we have to.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be. I do hope in my lifetime. I hope that we can become a republic and have a fully reconciled treaty with the First Nations people of this continent. I do hope that can happen. In the wider view, for the planet, I hope that there's too many of us in the world, too many people. If we don't do something about it, nature will, and the population needs to be reduced. And I understand intuitively and implicitly that the way to survive is held by all Indigenous people who live close to the earth, and westernised peoples have lost touch with that. But I know if the ship comes down, I'll throw my lot into the blackfellas, and I know that I can survive. So that's my position, and that's all I've got to say.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, and the next panel have a pretty short time frame. So we're actually going to wind up and maybe come and ask some questions. You can, if they're happy to, answer some questions outside. I've just been asked that people hang around, they're just going to move straight into the next panel because everything's kind of dominated with habit. But before you do, hang on, Robbie, before you go, I just want to really thank, artists don't always get asked to talk. They just get asked, you get asked to sing, and you do that, and you do it so well, and you really do. But it's always really great to give voice to the artists because it is a different way of thinking, and they do have a different experience. So I just want to thank these artists here today for sitting at the panel and giving us their time, and give you all